Section 5 of Brief Diversions by J.B. Priestley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Anthony Ogus. Travesties. A dedication for the Shropshire lad. To all the grave diggers between Ludlow town and Hewley. You lads whose trade is liming the charnel earth anew, a lad that has been rhyming takes off his cap to you. The lads I knew at Knighton I've shot and stabbed and drowned, in verse that will not brighten, lads still above the ground. And those that you've put under, that lie as still as stones, the years will only plunder the flesh from off their bones. 'Twas hard for lads in my time to find new mournful staves, and so I thought 'tis high time all Shropshires turned to graves. So take this book and read on the rhymes that I have made, till doomsday breaks on Bredon, to end our ancient trade. A song in the manner of Mr. Walter de la Mare. Go as you please. Once on a summer's night, Go as you please, saw 59 witches sat in the trees. Ghastly wet moon faces puckered and peered, blind things in the darkness gibbered and jeered. And every witch woman there wagged a thin beard. Each had an evil dream under her hood, all spinning a witch web redder than blood, across the dim spaces near where he stood. Their moonish old gabblement loosened his knees, down on his face fell Go as you please. Now every summer's night, Go as you please'll sing to the crazy moon, pop goes the weasel. The ineffable splendour of Thingumbob. Through the pearl-grey heart of twilight, lit with amethyst and gold, we beheld the mystic Thingumbob in visions fold on fold. And the ages bowed before him as he passed the glimmering deep. We renewed our ancient beauty, and arose from dewy sleep, where the starry thrones grew brighter as the heights were touched with flame. High above 1,000,000 faces burned the ground of what's-his-name. In what ivory-towered city, in what thronged and radiant street, shall we see through mists of violet the shining feet of feet? Not the lily, not the lotus, but the crimson flower of pain, blossoms now to lead the spirit to the light of lights again. Now the bard of fairy song and rune is set down as a boor, far from Babylon and Sackville Street and boggy Carrowmore. Gods and heroes flee before us in a reeling fiery rout. Earth grows faint and hungry-hearted now as dream on dream fades out, and the dim blue reader wonders what the poem is all about. Sir William Watson, on receiving an édition de luxe of Ella Wheeler Wilcox. A queenly gift that wears a regal dress of wine-flushed velvet blazoned with fine gold, sumptuous these lettered heralds that remain without the hall, bidding us enter there, proclaiming puissant titles for their queen. More sumptuous still the largesse and the feast of poesy within. Here in this isle, where once were mighty poets, we have but known a fugitive or sterile muse of late. Across the sundering floods and leagues of foam, on younger peoples in a riper clime, there falls no blight of song, but in full tide of passion poets have blossomed year by year. And greatest amongst these, O Wilcox, thou, song lived again in thee, no single note of human bliss or woe that did not come unto thy tutored and melodious tongue, and swell thy opulence of rhyme. Shall we, who share a common speech, forget thy guerdon? Nay, not Tupper's beaten gold, nor Mistress Heman's, that white garden rose of song, nor Bulwer Lytton's mystic peaks of thought, nor Morris, Lewis of that name, with all his large discourse and epic strain, shall move us more in the dark days to come. Professor Saintsbury, from the History of the Three Blind Mice, Periods of European Nonsense. Coming to the conclusion of the whole matter, the present writer, who has more than once gone over all that has been written on the subject, with the exception of some things in Romance and Czech, while he has been engaged on this task, must refuse to discuss at length the motives of the mice, or the far-reaching results to their seemingly, though not to the literary critic or historian who has adopted the comparative method, eccentric and ill-timed trick of running after, both of which have engaged the attention of some very excellent persons to the exclusion of all other aspects of the problem. Whoever looks at such things with one eye open for the swing of the pendulum will not be easily persuaded that the cleaving blade, for let it be repeated, the farmer's wife is worthiest of attention here, has not the fullest significance of all, from the levee de rideau of the running after to the noisy epilogue of the never saw such a thing in my life. To some whose engagement for the classical is not entirely absurd, the structure of the three shorn rodents, in their new simplicity and austerity of outline, will come almost as a Pisgah sight, as a reaction from the full-tailed romanticism that scampered blindly and heedlessly after what seemed rather a new crotchet than a true ideal. Their attitude, not unforeseen at the time when the carving knife was first menacingly brandished, can at least be tolerated. But to the other extremists, who from their stucco citadel of the sham romantic have derided the cutting off, and have hailed with contempt the new, old, perhaps to them unfamiliar form of the blind three, the present writer can hold out no ironicon. With the exception of some worthy persons who ought to have known better, and who shall be nameless here, the scoffers were for the most part half-educated journalists and others hangers-on to letters, who imagine that it is possible to write a clear, lucid style without so much as a glance of Dionysius of Halicarnassus, and who cannot be expected, etc., etc. Mr. James Stephens, Sumus beg again. Along the road I met a red-nosed man who stumbled as he walked. He said to me, "You keep away from that pub if you can. It's all gone queer." I said I didn't see what could be wrong with Doolan's. "I can't think," said he, "what we'll have next. I went in there 5 minutes since. I've scarcely got my drink before 3 angels with long shining hair came in. The first 2 took the dominoes and played daft tunes upon them, while the third sang songs and balanced bottles on his nose. 'Fore Stephen's time, such things never occurred." I said I didn't believe him, but I did. He only whispered, "Got a tanner, kid?" A lecture not yet written or delivered by Professor Sir A.T. Quiller Couch on the direct method, to be included afterwards in the art of lecturing. Bear with me, gentlemen, while I return, not unrefreshed by an 8 months' interval, apart sat on a hill retired, to the argument of my last lecture but one, wherein we found that the capital difficulty of criticism consisted of keeping to the matter in hand. When you wander, as you often delight to do, you wander indeed, and give never such satisfaction as the curious time requires. So Bacon, in his letter expostulation to Cook, and we shall do well to append the passage without taking to ourselves that plea of having a large and fruitful mind, which Bacon in his wisdom presented to Cook. Let us hold by the words of a writer whom our tripos is gradually restoring to popular favour, Quintilian: "It is enough for us to mind our present business." Suffer me then to proffer a personal experience. Once, when an undergraduate, anecdote omitted, an unforgettable experience, at least to one who is willing to pass among you as a sentimental old Victorian. But let us tune our instruments. And this brings me, for believe me, gentlemen, I must eventually arrive somewhere, to the point I wish to make. It is this, that if we examine our literature curiously, we shall find there a certain thread, a cord of silver, twisting its way through all letters and linking up one noble author with another. Let me remind you that this thread was first spun in Greece. Passages on compulsory Greek, the Education Act of 1870, and the teaching of English in schools, omitted. You may realise, gentlemen, how this tradition has been kept alive by men often sundered from one another by generations, if you allow me to bring before you several illuminating passages from diverse authors whose names are not pronounced here for the first time. Quotations from Aristotle, Longinus, Cervantes, Lessing, Sainte-Beuve, Newman, and Walter de la Mare omitted. One and all of these craftsmen, whom it is our business to study, tell us that we shall abjure the direct method only at our peril, that ultimately we shall come by more profit if we keep to the narrow road and leave the hedgerows and fields beyond innocent of our feet. It will not be easy, but, and I thank heaven for it, literature is not easy. And even in these days, when the correspondence school flourisheth, and Pellman is in the land, no one, not I nor another, can make it so. End of section 5.